Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. It's Kelsey with Start Loving You and our weekly Lunch and Listen. And I am thrilled to be joined today by Colleen Hauk, and she'll be on here in just a minute. In the meantime, everybody say hello, give us a wave. If you have any questions, let me know. Hey there. Hi, everybody. Let's get her on here. We'll have a great time. Hi, Liz. Hey, everyone joining. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi. Welcome, welcome. See, it wasn't hard, was it?
No. Thank you.
So nice to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sorry if I sound a little froggy. I'm trying to beat that thing that everybody has had going around. It's that time of year, so.
I just got over mine. I totally get it.
Oh my goodness sakes. Well, I can't wait to dive in and meet you online and just hear all about everything you do and are about. So if you will, please introduce yourself to everybody. Maybe tell us about your family and your kiddos, and then we'll just keep going.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to join you. Typical background, mom. I have two kids at home. My stepson is older. He's going to be 25 this year, which is so scary. He's moved out, been married for 15 years. And my husband and I both born, raised, and have never lived anywhere other than Southern California.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I spent about 15 years in corporate America through various sales and leadership and training positions. And about 15 months ago, I decided to make that big leap and go into the entrepreneur world. And it's a business I started about 5 years ago, but I wasn't able to really invest as much as I wanted to into it because I had, a full-time job. So
Right.
yeah, so that's a little in a nutshell about me.
And kids at home too. How old are the kids that are at home?
Yeah, so my son Ethan is 12 and a half, going on 21. He's
right.
as tall as I am. His voice is completely changed already. I'm freaking out. And then my daughter Reese, she's 9, but she'll be 10 actually in just a few days. She's my little actress, musical theater girl, stand-up comedian, totally opposite of me. My son and I are much more alike. So
Oh, funny. But it sounds like she's just able to take her passion and share it, and you're just doing it in a different way, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Total side note, and this is really random. You said that you're from Southern California, and I've seen that one of your favorite things to do is go camping. And I have to ask this before I forget. When you go camping, you go to the desert. So I'm curious what scares you out in the desert, because where we go camping up in the Pacific Northwest, we're worried about bears and cougars and, coyotes and even a little crazy raccoon. What do you have to worry about out there? I'm scared.
So let me clarify a little bit. So I did grow up tent camping, but they were in well put together camping areas. There's nothing to worry about. And now I'm much more of a glamper. We have a fifth wheel. I have a full master bedroom and kitchen.
No.
But when I married my husband, Matt, he'd been riding dirt bikes. And that's a thing here where I live in Orange County. Especially we have these beautiful sand dunes, miles and miles of sand dunes. And so when I met him, I knew, okay, this is going to become part of my life. So, so as much as we're out in the desert, I'm not roughing it. I will.
You're glamping. You're glamping. Okay. I just was thinking, do you have to worry about scorpions, or, what is it out there? Okay. You make it sound a lot more fun.
Yeah, other than maybe a wild dirt bike or a dune buggy going by, I really don't have to worry about.
Okay, I kind of like that way of camping. I might need to come down and visit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So will you backtrack a minute and tell me, what did you do in the corporate world? I know that you kind of got yourself burned out working so hard after a great promotion, but what exactly did you do?
Yeah, so in my former life, I was actually an elementary school teacher. That was,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, right out of college, did that for 6 years. but felt like I wanted to go into more of the professional world. So I jumped in. I was doing some recruiting for a few years and then landed myself at the company that I called home for just over 11 years. And they were a personalized digital media company. And I went from, entry-level salesperson into sales leadership. So by the time I left there, probably my last 5 or 6 years, I was coaching and training and leading a sales team. And yeah, so that's what I spent majority of my time was really in a traditional sales job. So, traveling on an airplane almost every other week into the on, days that I wasn't traveling and meeting with clients. It really was a true sales job.
Wow, incredible. And I can see where that would be tiring, and you'd need to find a way to balance out everybody that's back at home, everything, the kids, the husband, the laundry,
Yeah.
your health, your fitness. So once you realized that you needed a break, what did you do? Did you just have an aha moment and think, okay, this is enough. Here's what I need to do. And how did you move forward with that?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'd love to share a little bit about how I got to that point.
Yes.
And what I did.
Please do.
Yeah. So you mentioned it briefly at the beginning. I accepted a promotion toward the latter part of my career there, and it was the promotion I really wanted. It was that first step into the formal leadership role at the company. But I was so excited about this promotion that when my VP offered it to me, I literally didn't hear anything else he said. I just said yes. And what happened was I failed to hear, oh, you're taking over 3/4 of another person's book of business and you're only giving up this one teeny tiny account. And all I heard was promotion, and I was just so excited. And that year I ended up earning about 30% more financially than I had earned the previous year, which that's a huge increase in money, right? So while financially and professionally, it was quote unquote my best year ever, I just had such blinders on as to how it was going to impact myself, my own personal health and well-being, and my family. And so I said yes. I went into that role with having just, quite frankly, way too much work on my plate. But I don't like to fail. I'm one of those people who I'm just always going to figure it out. And the only way I could get my job done and just survive outside of that was to cut out sleep. And so, I was literally sleeping about 4 hours every night. And I don't know if you've ever done that, Kelsey, but when you do that, other than maybe when you have a, newborn baby at home, right? But then you're in a fog all the time, right? You're not trying to go put together presentations and speak to multi-million-dollar companies. It was like I was drunk. I was walking around in a fog, and I just had no clue what it was doing to me. But at home, my family got my leftovers. The worst part, I can remember coming home at night, and right before I would open the door, I'd hear Matt and the kids on the other side, and they'd be laughing, having this awesome time. And it was like they could hear me just turn the door handle, and it went silent. And Matt later shared with me that the moment I walked in, they were on high alert. How sad that my family isn't rushing to hug me. They're scared. They were legitimately scared of me. And it was because I was psychotic at home. I just had nothing left to give to my family. So I did that for about 12, 13 months. And the breaking point that you asked about sounds so trivial in isolation. But when you know that this is the story, right, that I've been going through this, I'd had what I considered zero fun for an entire year. I started calling fun the working mom's F word. I
like that though. I like that.
Right. And so I was supposed to be going to a networking women's holiday party, and midway through the day, my boss calls me in. He has all these last minute changes to a presentation, and it has to be done. It's due at 8 a.m. the next morning. And I got trapped in my office till 7 o'clock at night working on that presentation and missed that holiday party. And it was that was just it. That, for whatever reason, that moment all by myself in my office during the holidays, when I was so excited to go actually have some fun, that was my breaking point. And I just started hysterically crying in my office. But the sad thing was, it was like, I didn't know what to do. I knew I couldn't continue like this. I thought my answer was, I got to quit my job. Like, how in the world can women have a career and a family? Like, this is impossible. I have to choose one or the other. And that was that like moment of flash, but no problem. But I knew financially that if my family, if we wanted to keep what we had, quitting wasn't an option that I was going to choose at that time. So I ended up reaching out to a girlfriend of mine that I knew from my recruiting days. She had become a coach, and I literally texted her and said, I just need to hire you as my coach. I don't know what to do. I feel like I've been doing all the things I know. I need new answers. I need new strategies, new resources. And literally 2 weeks later, I started coaching with her. And that was a change for me.
That's incredible. And I've heard so many amazing things about, coaches. And I think some people only think about fitness coaches. Excuse me. I just need to, there we go. So many people talk about fitness coaches, but life coaches are huge. It's like your own cheerleader, even if you have to pay them. And I think it's so important. And I love that you do that. And you then, how many people have you reached? You have been speaking since you started doing this. You've been speaking all around the country, and you've written a book.
Yes, I co-authored a book called Women Who Ignite, where I had an opportunity with 19 other beautiful souls to,
oh my gosh,
to share this story with
yes.
the hope that someone else who's either there or maybe not quite there, and I want to help them not get to that breaking point.
Right.
Yes, so that was a great opportunity to get the book out there.
Women Who Ignite. Okay, and is that found on Amazon or just any store, Barnes & Noble?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon, or if anybody goes to my website, then they get a signed copy from me personally.
Okay, which is COLLEENHAUK.com, just so everybody knows. Oh, it's so dark in here. Okay, so tell us, what is your typical day like?
All right. I love
I know, you probably don't have one, but
none of us have a typical day. But I know. What I'll say is kind of like on my bookends of my day are pretty typical. So I do work from home, which has been a huge blessing for me. That was probably one of the biggest joys for me, having been on the road so much. And obviously I'm still on the road when I'm speaking, but now instead of going into an office, I get to be home. So yeah, in the morning, I usually spend about half hour to an hour on my own, whether that's through, meditation in the morning or just getting my business like up and started, some work things before everyone else in the house gets up. I make breakfast every morning for my entire family. I'm a huge believer in having the right breakfast. Get my daughter to school, and then throughout the day, it's really a combination of, I do coaching for my mentor and trainer. I coach people who go through his year-long mastermind program. Okay. As well as I do, a lot of my time is spent preparing and practicing for either keynote or training that I have upcoming, doing that live. Like, for example, this Saturday, I'm going to be a keynote speaker. So much of my time is spent practicing for that, and creating content. I love to create content. I have a video that comes out every week. So I might be shooting videos, writing new content for new products. So really kind of like the middle of my day is a little bit of everything. But my evenings, after I pick up my daughter from school, my evenings are filled with fitness. So in addition to this world, I'm a group exercise instructor. I teach body combat at our local 24-hour fitness. I've been there for almost 11 years. I'm also a certified, thank you. I'm also a certified coach with the Fit Body Boot Camp. So I'm either in the gym coaching and training, or I'm just there. It's my husband knows I'm a Group X junkie. He knew, like, don't mess with my gym schedule when he met me. Like, that was my one thing. And then the evenings are cooking dinner and helping the kids with homework, as much as I try to help my son.
Dreadful.
Seventh grade work is, I'm like, seriously, I can barely help you. So, and then, yeah, getting to see my husband, he made a transition as well about 6 months ago. He went from being home for 12 years running his own business to actually being out at an office. So we've had to a lot of adjustments in reversing our lifestyles and trying to find time for the two of us as much as
Right.
possible.
You know, I like that though, only because when you've been together that long, it's kind of nice to change it up a little bit. So I know there are adjustments, but there are probably some positives to that too. And I can't believe you like to work out in the evening. I'm just one of those people, if I can just get it done during the day, you know, but I love that. You have a ton of energy. I see that on your Instagram, you know, just go, go, go. And it's
Yeah.
not because you're working out all the time.
Yeah. And I see someone asking, what do I make for breakfast? What do I drink?
She wants to know what you drink too. Yeah.
Yeah, so for breakfast, for sure, a batch of scrambled eggs for everyone. Everyone has them a little different with a little different seasoning, but my kids, I have to send them off to school with protein. They have fruit, and then I do admit they get to choose a really bad carb on the side, like a whatever. I'm all about, you know, letting them make some choices, moderation. It's not like we're anti-sweets or anything in the family. To drink, I actually like old school espresso, just brewed in the coffee pot with canned coconut milk as my creamer, and that's usually my start of the day.
Now, do you drink coffee throughout the day, or do you stop and have only water? What do you do to keep yourself energized?
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually typically I have water with a straw. I know that sounds so bizarre, but
I do too.
okay, drink more when I have a straw.
Mm-hmm.
So water throughout the day. If I have any other caffeine, I make sure I have it before 1 o'clock. Because I mean, seriously, after 1 o'clock, if I have caffeine, I will wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like you can count on it. 2 a.m. I'm awake. So yeah, I try to stick to zero caffeine after that 1 cup of coffee.
And you definitely know that you need more than 4 hours of sleep now. You learned your lesson.
Yes, yes. So when I first made the transition, I made a deal with myself. I needed to have a minimum of 7 hours. And that still is the deal, 7 hours. Admittedly, now I do get to enjoy on average 8 hours of sleep because I'm typically working from home. So instead of getting up and totally getting ready every day, I roll out of bed and put my gym clothes on and work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I have no shame in admitting that most days when you see me, I have zero makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
I probably haven't washed my hair in a day or two, and I'm in gym clothes. Like I love being able to do that. If I don't have to spend time to, you know, be professional, obviously, like for today, being on an interview, Saturday when I'm keynote speaking, I'm going to have it all together and be that professional. But there's no reason for me to spend that hour or even half hour getting ready when it's just me working in my office for the day.
Right. And that's called balance. And so, speaking of balance, how do you help your clients find the balance and find how they can have it all without losing it all?
Yeah. Yeah. So I give you an analogy. And if you ever get a chance to see me, Kelsey, live, I do this live. So if you can imagine a balance board. So they usually have those at the gym or with a personal trainer. It's either a circle or a rectangular board with like half a ball underneath, and you stand on it and you try to, right? So I literally stand on one of those on stage to prove my point that when a trainer is working with someone on that balance board, it's typically because they have, the objective of training a certain muscle or strengthening their core, right? And so the trainer might have that person kind of lean into one muscle group, one spot on that balance board. But as the person on the board sees or feels, their muscle starts to get fatigued. And so they reshift, right? They know I'm getting tired. I need to reshift on this board. And if they don't, they'll fall off the board. Right. So I use that as an analogy of that's really our life. If you look at that balance board and if you were to divide it up into what I consider 6 areas of your life, right? Professional, personal, your health, etc. If you were to divide those up and you were to stand on top of that board, the first thing you would notice is you're never standing still. Like even if you have the best core strength, even if you have the strongest muscles, right? Like you could put the most well-trained person, they're never like literally standing still. They're always kind of like me, you could see me on stage. I'm always, just kind of shaking a little bit, right? And then there's different times in your life where you do have to shift into that one area of a board. So for example, with me, my mom was ill, like significantly ill in the hospital for 4 or 5 months. I needed to lean into my relationships to my family for that period of time, or, different times of work when I know I have a lot of speaking engagements coming up. I've got to practice a little more, and my family knows that, right? So I have to kind of shift my weight on that part of the board. But just like the person who feels physical fatigue, you have to do the same. As you're leaning into that one thing, you have to recognize either physically or mentally that fatigue is coming on. And it's your responsibility to then shift out of that, because if you don't, you're just going to fall off the board or crash or mentally do whatever, right?
Right.
So that's my analogy, is first just to recognize you are never 100% balanced. Like, that is not going to happen. There's always something pulling you, but you need to recognize when it's time to reshift. And the second thing I would offer is that, when I look back on when I received that promotion, I shared with you, I had blinders on. I didn't listen or think about anything that was happening. And that's because all I really had mapped out in my, other than, I wanted to be married with kids, which I already did, but I didn't have mapped out, like, what did I really want my life to look like? I knew what career, what promotion I wanted. I knew how much money I wanted to make, but I didn't have that clarity on anything else in my life. And so because I didn't have that, I just said yes to that professional thing. And it made everything else around me just completely crash. So if you mentioned how I say, about how to have it all without losing it all.
Right.
You have to find what that having it all means to you. If you are trying to live your life by somebody else's definition of having it all, because you're on Instagram and you're watching someone else's life, or you're watching that reality TV show, or you're trying to have the life that your parents told you is what having it all meant, I'm going to tell you, you'll never have it all. Like, you literally will never have it all. You have to define what having it all means to you. And when you know what that is, then you can start setting those boundaries and those parameters and going after the right things for you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So that analogy of the board is amazing. So are you taking that on Saturday to your keynote speech?
I am. I actually, I take that back. This Saturday is a little bit different. It's a mixed audience. I'm talking about why high performance is sabotaging your growth. So a little bit different, a little bit shorter, but man, that board has gone with me to Philadelphia, all over. So I literally crammed that board in my suitcase.
That's incredible. I love that you found an analogy that fits how you want to explain it. I think that's so important for people to be able to explain how it works for them, so that they can in turn share, like you do with your coaching. Okay, so I have a question. Do you have one particular client whose story stands out that you've helped get over the hurdle of whatever they're struggling with, that just really stands out and maybe even affected you?
Yeah, I have two. So this is hard to choose between the two. I'll choose this one because it's more in lines with what we've been talking about today. And it's so ironic. You know how the universe works. Like, you're working on something and that person called me yesterday. It's just so bizarre. But I had a gal who had 2 kids. She was married, was working a really successful real estate business. And she was just feeling fatigued all of the time. She had gained weight. I mean, she wasn't like, severely overweight or anything, but she had gained weight, and she was just feeling sluggish and tired. She wasn't really engaged with her family. Her job had completely taken over. And at the same time, she was volunteering for like everything imaginable. We're talking room mom, on the Little League board, like everything you could think of. Mm-hmm. And so she and I started doing private coaching together, and I love to dig into people's like schedule. That's where I love to start. I'm like, okay, just run down your day for me. Let me know. And that's where I can usually start to find pieces that we can modify, get rid of, because a lot of what happens is when you hear me, I'm going to tell you to start doing things. And a lot of women are like, but hold on, I'm so crazy busy. Like, how can I start doing these other things you're telling me to do? So I love when I'm doing that one-on-one coaching is to say, okay, how can we stop or pass or do, like, get rid of some of these things so that you can start doing the things that matter most, or making you healthy, finding time for sleep, you know, getting in that exercise, carving out time for your family. So she has gone on to, she looks incredible. She has so much energy. She calls me her Yoda. She just literally called me yesterday to share an idea she had for me. Like, Colleen, this one thing you taught me that I did with my family, my son is now wanting to do. And I just had to call and tell you this idea. That's just so amazing. So yeah, I love, she's actually gone off and started working on a completely different business, but her whole life is just so much more put together. Everything has fallen into place, and that energy and that quote unquote balance is there for her.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you follow up with, are there like